What's that sign up ahead say? It says you are now entering Gotham. Welcome to Before the Bat, the Gotham podcast, your source for everything dealing with Gotham, the show that will premiere on the Fox Network September 22nd at 8 p.m., which is about 5 weeks from now, I believe. I'm Phil Parrott, your host, and, well, that brings me to one of my points. Hopefully we'll have a co-host soon. I've been talking to one person. I don't know if this is going to work out or not, but hurry up. Now's your chance. We got 5 weeks before the show. Email me, get a hold of me on social media. I'll tell you all how to do that at the end of this podcast, but hurry up. We'll introduce you to all the listeners, and then we'll be ready to go when the show starts. But anyway, you're probably asking, well, if it's 5 weeks away, why are you here? Well, I was thinking it's just too long of a break because I listen to many podcasts, most of which are on the Southgate Media Group, which you should be familiar with. We have some great shows. But so I am a fan of podcasts, and I am always very impatient for the next episode. So I thought, what can I do during the summer, or at least this last month or so before the show starts? And I was thinking about maybe reviewing the animated movies, and I got that idea this week because the newest one came out on Blu-ray this week, so I figured, why don't I start with that one? It's Batman: Assault on Arkham. It is, 76 minutes long. That is my one problem with their animated movies. DC does great animated movies, but I never think they're long enough. But I don't know why they have to be so short, because, if they were putting out a shorter movie for a child's attention span, but this movie is PG-13, and unlike some of the earlier offerings from DC animated wise, this one pushed its PG-13 rating, I thought. Some language, some suggestive themes, if you know what I mean. But otherwise, it was a pretty good movie. Except if you were a big Batman fan like me, I like the movie, but if you're expecting a lot of Batman in this, I don't know if this is the movie for you, because Batman kind of drops in and out every so often. So maybe you're saying to yourself, well, if it's a Batman Assault on Arkham and Batman in and out, who does this movie feature? Well, it features the Suicide Squad. If you are a watcher of Arrow, well, for one thing, you should go to Southgate Media Group and listen to the upcoming Queen Consolidated podcast, which I co-host with Zachary Hare. But like I said, if you watch the Arrow show, you have a passing familiarity with the Suicide Squad. In the comic books, they've been around off and on since the 80s, and their roster has changed numerous times probably because of the nature of the team. For those of you who aren't familiar with Arrow, who aren't familiar with the comic books, the Suicide Squad is kind of an off-the-books project of the government's. Its codename is Task Force X, and basically this shady government organization takes super criminals, powers or no, and gives them a choice. It says, run these all-or-nothing missions for us, basically suicide missions, and if you survive, you get time off your sentence, and if not, well, you're probably not going to be alive. So, let's jump in. Who is in the squad this time? Well, the star of this movie would probably have to be Harley Quinn. And if you want to know more about her, another plug time, people. If you want to know more about Harley Quinn, you can check out my blog on Southgate Media Group. That's the companion for this podcast. It's the Bat Fan Cave. Like I said, all you just got to do is go to southgatemediagroup.com. Bat Fan Cave, and this week is, like I said, is Harley Quinn, and this is week 7, so go back and read it. It's a very compelling stuff, if I do say so myself, and I'm here by myself, so I am. So anyway, like I said, Harley Quinn is in this Suicide Squad version. We have the KG Beast, who is a genetically enhanced Russian. We have Deadshot, who, as his name suggests, hardly ever misses. Killer Frost, who has ice powers. Captain Boomerang sounds kind of lame, but he's a Flash villain, and he's an Australian who throws around trick boomerangs, like exploding boomerangs, razor sharp boomerangs. We have King Shark, who is basically a walking humanoid shark, and Black Spider, who I wasn't sure why they put him in this, because he's kind of similar to Deadshot, in that neither of them have actual powers, and they basically use guns or weapons. But I guess they needed someone to. Well, we'll get to that later. Well, anyway, if you don't want to know what goes down in this movie, spoiler alerts, big spoiler alerts. Tune out now. Go get the movie. You can get it digitally. You can get the Blu-ray, and then come back and listen to this because, like I said, this podcast is compelling stuff. All right. Anyone who doesn't know what happens is gone. All right, last warning. All right. Well, the movie starts with the Riddler in his hideout, wherever it would be. It looks like in a warehouse, and he's contacted by Amanda Waller. For those of you who don't know, Amanda Waller is the government agent who's in charge of Task Force X, or the Suicide Squad. And she seems to be very threatening to him. We don't know what's going on. And then she sends a bunch of troops in. They take the Riddler by force, possibly kill him. That's when we see Batman come in, take down the troops. And we see a conversation between Batman and the Riddler, Batman's asking the Riddler, interrogating him, where did he put it? We don't know what's going on yet, but by the time Amanda Waller gets her wits about her and gets more troops in there, Batman is gone with the Riddler and has locked him up in Arkham Asylum. So Amanda Waller finds out about this and is none too happy. And like I said, with the PG-13 rating on this movie, she has some salty language. But she gets on her phone and tells someone to assemble the squad. And at this point, we see quick flashes of where each member of the Suicide Squad is at, what they're doing, and the eventual capture of all of them. Except for, I believe it's Deadshot. He was already locked up in prison. So anyway, next thing we know, after they're all captured, the Suicide Squad wakes up restrained in a big metal room, which some of them try to escape and are none too successful. And the next thing you know, Amanda Waller comes in and tells the team some of them are newbies, some like Deadshot and Harley Quinn and Captain Boomerang have been on the Suicide Squad before. So for the sake of the new members, Amanda Waller gives them their mission, and telling them they have to break into Arkham Asylum and get a flash drive that's hidden in the Riddler's cane, which is locked up in Arkham with him. And she also tells the squad about the micro bombs that are implanted in their necks, that if they go off mission, if they basically displease her in any way, she can blow their heads off. At this point, the KGB stands up and says to Waller, "You are bluffing. You wouldn't go to all this trouble to capture all of us at any points, everywhere we were at, to just blow our heads off." So Amanda Waller steps away from the door and says, "Go ahead, test me." The KG Beast, I assume, believes she's still bluffing, so he walks out the door. There's a quick beeping noise, and all of a sudden, KG Beast has no head anymore. And it's at this point that the rest of the squad, especially the newbies, quickly agree to work for Amanda Waller. And next thing we see is the squad parachuting into Gotham. They're dropped from a plane. It looks like they're going to hit the ground until Amanda Waller deploys their parachutes at the last second, showing the squad that She holds their life in their hands. They are her tools, and she can snuff them out in 2 seconds if it's her desire. And after the not so comfortable landing in Gotham, the squad goes to meet the Penguin at his Iceberg Lounge. And the Penguin is none too happy to see Harley Quinn because he says something about a truck that was hijacked by the Joker and Harley Quinn. Because, newsflash, for those of you not familiar with, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast, but for those of you not familiar with cartoons, comic books, Harley Quinn is the on-again, off-again girlfriend of the Joker. So the Penguin is none too happy to see the girlfriend of the man who hijacked his truck. But Deadshot makes the point to the Penguin that the government paid him a lot of money for equipment and help getting into Arkham, and he says, you don't want me to tell the government that they paid you money and you betrayed them. So the Penguin lets them go on their way. And the next scene is, I guess the squad is resting up for the night, or maybe, I'm not sure if it's the same night they break into Arkham, but squad is resting up, and they show Deadshot in his room. After he takes a quick shower, he comes out and finds Harley in his bed. And this is one of those PG-13 scenes, so I wouldn't let your children watch it. Which, who would think? Why would children watch a Batman movie? I don't know what they're doing here. But anyway, the next thing we know, let's see. Batman finds Harley out on the street later and tries to interrogate her as to a plan of the Joker's. And the whole rest of the squad is confused, thinking, what is he on about? Eventually, when he's gone, Harley tells the squad about the dirty bomb the Joker is hidden somewhere in Gotham. And no one on the squad is too happy about being in Gotham right at that point. And the next scene is the squad at different points and different roles breaking into Arkham. And Deadshot and Harley go in. Deadshot is dressed as a cop, bringing Harley in to lock her up in Arkham. And the next thing we know, Harley sees the Joker and flips out and starts shooting into the Joker's cell. So we can assume that their breakup was none too, how do we put this, amicable. So we see some damage done to the inside of the Joker's cell after Harley shoots inside with the gun. And the next thing we know, this movie lives up to its name, Assault on Arkham. The guards quickly realize that something is going on with Black Spider blowing up microwaves in the kitchen. Captain Boomerang brings Killer Frost in as a dead body because since her body is so cold, it scans as a dead body until she jumps out of her body bag and takes out some of the guards by freezing them solid and breaking them. And once again, a PG-13 moment, Killer Frost jumps out of her body bag topless. I mean, you don't see the front of her, but it's like, again, why do you have to push the boundaries on these PG-13 movies? You know, maybe children would like to see this also. But anyway, they show later, so chaos is going on at Arkham. Batman, they show out on the street later, subduing Mr. Zsasz, a serial killer who marks his body with a scar for every person he kills. Batman takes him out pretty quickly and easily. Batman gets back in the Batmobile and realizes through he has this Arkham employee schedule memorized, and he realizes that the video he's seeing is from the night before, and realizes there's trouble and heads for the asylum. Once Batman gets there, he starts confronting the squad. They show a quick fight, and then Batman sort of disappears. And then the next thing we know, thanks to Harley Quinn's attack on the Joker, his cell has been breached and the Joker is loose. The pardon this bad pun. The wild card is loose. And the next thing we know, the squad has the cane. Harley has found the giant mallet that you can see her carrying in the comic books these days. Although later on it looks like that the mallet belongs to the Joker, but so anyway, with the the squad finds the Riddler, and the Riddler tells the squad that he can deactivate the bombs in their necks, if you will. But the Riddler has to give them some electroshock therapy, if you will, and the the squad finds it quite uncomfortable, of course, except for Harley, who seems to relish or enjoy the electroshock therapy. But hey, crazy is. But as the Riddler's trying to fry the bombs in their neck, Amanda Waller realizes what's going on when she tries to contact the squad and hits the button to detonate their bombs. And most of the members bombs must have been fried, but Killer Shark's head explodes. And elsewhere in Arkham, when the Joker has found Batman, or so he thinks, and finds it quite hysterical when Batman's head explodes. And with the rest of the squad sitting there, they're with Black Spider, who had been on watch and not had his bomb fried. Everyone's wondering why Black Spider's head hasn't exploded, along with Killer Shark's. That's when the Riddler figures out Batman has switched places with Black Spider. That is when the Joker pops in and starts shooting at, well, everyone. And we get a Joker versus Deadshot fight. Round one anyway. And most of the squad gets away from the Joker. And Harley's dragged along with the Joker. Not that she forgives the Joker, but I believe she did it to save the rest of the squad members, which, well, their numbers are dwindling. This is when we see that the Joker wants the mallet because the dirty bomb is in the head of the mallet. And the Joker wants to escape the asylum, so what does he do? He releases all the inmates. We don't see many familiar faces. We see Two-Face for about 2 seconds. Bane, for those not familiar with comic books or cartoons, he was the villain in the mask in The Dark Knight Rises, the last Batman movie. So, all hell was breaking loose. All the inmates are running loose. Batman goes outside to try to corral the inmates. Jim Gordon, as we know, the big star of the Gotham TV show coming up soon, Jim Gordon arrives, who's commissioner now, with his cops to try to help Batman subdue all the inmates. It gets bloody. Killer Frost tries to escape in a police car. Bane picks up the police car, throws it, and we see the car explode, so I assume Killer Frost is dead. Batman stops Bane. He pulls all the venom tubes out of his body and dumps him in the river nearby. Once again, for those of you who only know Bane from the movies, in the comic books and the cartoons, he has tubes that are fed through these holes in the back of his head. He was experimented on in a South American prison, and he has this fluid that's pumped that he can pump into his head called venom. It's like a super steroid. It actually pumps up his muscles. He blows up like a balloon. So anyway, like I said, Batman takes out the venom tubes and dumps Bane in the river. And after that, most of the inmates seem pretty easy to stop. The Joker escapes in a helicopter, and and Batman gives chase in the Batwing, which we see him called down out of the sky by remote. Deadshot and Captain Boomerang are also in the helicopter, I believe. I'm not sure if Boomerang made it out of Arkham, but Deadshot's in the copter because the Joker wants to kill Deadshot because, as he called him Harley's new man. But anyway, after an aerial chase, we have a Batman vs. Harley fight, and we have Deadshot vs. the Joker round 2. And, of course, Harley's captured. Deadshot pins the Joker by his shoulders with knives to the helicopter, which plunges off a building. So we see the helicopter fall, plunge, hit the ground, then explode. And I guess we're to assume the Joker died. But if I had $1 for every time the Joker's escaped the exploding helicopter, I wouldn't be here. I would be very rich right now. But anyway, at the end of the movie, we see Batman goes to confront Amanda Waller. He threatens her to stay out of his city, and she's like, "Yeah, we're the U.S. government. How are you gonna? You're a man in a mask. How are you gonna stop us? Blah blah blah." And Batman says, "This is your warning," and that's it. And not getting too specific, but Batman is Batman, so if I were her, I would take it seriously. And the final scene we see is Amanda Waller turns from her desk, faces the window, and all of a sudden she has a laser sight right on her chest. And I believe she uses more of that salty language. And the next thing we see is Deadshot across the street, or however far away, and he's holding the gun that's pointed right at Amanda Waller's chest as his young daughter's playing right behind him. And that's it. That's the last we see, so we don't know what happened. But that was the quick rundown of Batman Assault on Arkham. And if you'd like to hear more reviews of Batman animated movies, maybe a movie with more Batman in it, like Batman Under the Red Hood or Batman and Son, probably my two favorites of the Batman animated movies, or even reviews of episodes of Batman the Animated Series, let me know. Like I said, I need responses, people. Let me know. Would you want some fresh content before Gotham starts in 5 weeks? 'Cause like I said, I'm a fan of podcasts, and I know what it's like to have to wait weeks and weeks at a time for a new episode. So write me, email me, social media, and I'm sure you're gonna say, how do we do that? Well, like I said, let me know. Do you want fresh content before the show? Like I said, I want to do all things Batman, not just Gotham. So, is there anything else? Do you want comic book reviews? I'm sure everyone's seen all the Batman movies, but if you want me to go through Batman movies, or I figured the animated is probably better because not everyone has seen them. But anyway, stop rambling. Tell us how we can get a hold of you already. Well, please. Any ideas, thoughts, concerns? Like I said, I'm looking for co-hosts. It doesn't have to be a full-time thing. If you want to do one episode of the podcast, or you want to rotate with other people, email me at beforethebat@gmail.com. That's beforethebat@gmail.com. Our Facebook page is Before the Bat, Facebook, Before the Bat, the Gotham Podcast, and we're also on Twitter at Before the Bat Pod. Before the Bat Pod. And you can always get a hold of me at southgatemediagroup.com. And let's see, anything else before I leave? Like I said, I try to be your between the podcast, my blog, the Bat Fan Cave, and the social media. I try to be your source for all things Gotham and Batman related stuff. But I have to say, if you're looking on social media for another source for some good Gotham material, pictures, interviews with the cast, info, I found on Facebook and Twitter a good source, the Gotham Addicts. I'm actually a member. That's the Gotham Addicts. Shout out to you guys. You got a great page. If any of you ever want to come on the podcast, you're more than welcome. Just contact me through the ways I said. And I think that's about it. One more time, if you want to email me, beforethebat@gmail.com. Facebook, Before the Bat, the Gotham Podcast, and Twitter at Before the Bat Pod. And like I said, if you want to get a hold of me or anyone else, or even just check out some of the other great podcasts on Southgate Media Group, including the Flashpoint podcast or Queen Consolidated podcast, the Flash and Arrow podcast. I do co-host with Zachary Hare. And there's so many others. There's a Marvel podcast. There's a Falling Skies podcast. There's a DC Comics in General podcast. You can find everything at southgatemediagroup.com. So like I said, that's about it. Please let me hear your thoughts. I am so eager to communicate with all you listeners. So, what's that sign up ahead? It says we are now leaving Gotham. Good night and good luck.
If you would like to donate to help pay for this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts, simply go to our website, southgatemediagroup.com, and click on the donate button. It can be as little as $1 or, well, as much as you want. Help keep this fun going by supporting this and our other shows. Thanks again for listening, everyone. You're the best fans in the world.